The day I bought the lake behind their subdivision, I thought I had just purchased a quiet piece of land and water. But 1 week later, the HOA president knocked on my door with a crowd of angry residents behind her. She said the lake was community property. I calmly walked inside, grabbed a folder, and came back holding the official deed. That's when the argument really started. The lake sat quietly behind the subdivision like it had always belonged there. Residents walked their dogs along the shore, kids fished from the docks, and people kayaked on the water every weekend. For years, everyone treated the lake like it belonged to the neighborhood. But the truth was simple. No one in the HOA actually owned it. The land had been privately owned for decades. The previous owner just never cared if people used it. When he decided to sell the property, I saw the listing and bought the entire parcel. The lake, the shoreline, everything. A week after I bought the property, someone knocked on my door. When I opened it, the HOA president was standing there with a clipboard in her hand and about 10 residents behind her. She didn't even say hello. "You need to understand something," she said. "That lake belongs to this community." Several people behind her nodded like they were ready for a fight. I explained calmly that I had legally purchased the land. She laughed. "You can't just take away a community lake." That's when I realized this was going to be a problem. The next weekend, I drove down to the lake and saw something strange. Someone had placed a large sign near the shoreline. It said, "HOA Community Lake, residents only." People were fishing like nothing had changed. Kids were swimming. Kayaks were moving across the water. The HOA board was trying to act like the lake was still theirs. That's when I understood their plan. If everyone kept using the lake, they hoped it would look like public property. But they forgot one important thing. Paperwork beats assumptions. That night, I pulled out the paperwork from the purchase. Inside the folder was the official property deed and the land survey. The boundary lines were clear. The entire lake sat inside my parcel. Even the shoreline paths belonged to the property. Then I found something even more interesting in the records. The HOA had never owned the lake. Not once. For years, they had simply assumed it was theirs. And now they were trying to keep that illusion alive. A few days later, the HOA called a meeting. The president stood up and repeated the same claim. "The lake belongs to this community." That's when I stood up and placed the deed on the table. The room went quiet. The survey map clearly showed the lake inside my property lines. The HOA lawyer looked at the papers, then slowly shook his head. The board members suddenly stopped talking, because for the first time they realized something. The lake they had used for years was never theirs.